Late here tonight on Outside the Fence, but welcome to Outside the Fence podcast, brought to you by Misfit Productions. This is the best echo. Are you going to turn me down a little bit in my ears, Kyle? We are doing something very unique tonight. We are Zooming and have our guest tonight, Russ Lorbiecki, going to join the show. But I got to bring up a couple of big announcements. We gained a new sponsor for Outside the Fence, Richie's Smokin' Barbecue. He brought over some of his now famous pizza. So he has the pork or the brisket, and the consensus in the room is the brisket. I don't know, it's 50-50. It's all very good. Make sure you check out Richie's Smokin' Barbecue. And Ross, you remember Richie?
Of course I know Richie. He's a great guy.
There's a big logo on the hood of that giant yellow bus behind you.
Heck, there he is. There is. He saw me and wanted his name on, and so we met up, and couldn't be happier to have him on there. Very proud to have him on there. He's a good sponsor, and I know he sponsors a couple of other guys down by you guys, and so we swung in there and ate some pizza with him, and yeah, we loved it ourselves and snapped some pictures. So.
Well, very cool. Opening the show up, Russ, we're going to talk a little bit Rockford. We're all good? We're all good. That's beautiful. The echo is still with me, but
I can't get rid of that.
I know, we'll deal with it. I said I'll deal with it. We'll deal with it.
I can't. That one's out of my hands.
The Rockford news, the Big 8, the Rockford Rules late models were released this week. Not a lot of changes. Last week at this show, I had mentioned a spring change. Well, that turned into an internet frenzy of, oh my God, we can't run 10-inch springs, blah, blah, blah. So we got that clarified, and all things are well on that end. The rest of the rules the final copy is on my desk, and we're going to probably release those after the final proofing. Those will go out Monday of this coming week. Schedule updates at Rockford and Big 8, we're getting close. This is one of the most unique years in the scheduling world. Just obviously the pandemic, what's going to happen. The good thing there, the Illinois on our end down here, We've went to a tier 1, so we're opening things up. You can go into a restaurant down here now, Russ, and eat. What a concept.
Nice.
Neat concept, yeah.
A little bit back to normal, right?
A little bit. We're getting close.
Just a
How
taste.
is it like that in Wisconsin? I mean, is there any rules up there?
Well, I think we like to drink our beer too much up here, so the bars have been open for a while. They kind of make you wear a face mask, walk into the table, but then once you're sitting at your table, you can take it off and eat and talk. So it's kind of weird, but whatever. Do what they tell us to do. Yeah.
You know, we had inauguration day, and the next day everything starts. All these numbers are mysteriously dropping.
Changing.
So, well, let's get to our let's get to our guest. Russ, you're from Wisconsin. North of Slinger's your hometown. Let's put it into place. The show's based a lot of Rockford stuff. You've been down here for our vintage figure 8 race. Had so much fun. Then you came back for the Bahama brackets. Prior to that, I think you've only done figure 8 racing. Is that correct?
For the most part, yeah. I did 4 cylinders for a year and a half. That's kind of where I started. Before that, I did demo derbies, but and I came. My first trip to Rockford was the Goblin 250, and that was a blast. I had just a barn find of a car. Funny thing is, I bought that car from the same guy that I bought my first 4-cylinder from, and changed some fuel lines, changed some brake lines, and came down there and I won the thing.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Man, no, I don't. That had to have been probably around 2000. Well, if I could see the trophy from here, I could tell you, but it's way up on the shelf.
That's all right. Must be a lot of trophies on that shelf, huh?
There's a couple up there. I've gotten a few over the years.
What's the best one? Just throwing that out.
Oh man, the best one?
The most
I don't know. That's tough to say. I mean, I guess to my heart, winning the EVA Destruction up at WIR. It's a 25 lap figure 8 race. It's I mean, I kind of consider that the Super Bowl of figure 8, I guess, and I won that 2 years ago, and that one brought a tear to my eye. That one hit deep. That was a real kind of eye opener for me. I'll cherish that one forever. So I'd have to say that one.
All right. Well, there's a bunch up there. All the success you've had over the years. You started out in derbies, you said. Went to the 4 cylinders. That, you said, really wasn't a lot of fun. Then you wanted to have some more fun. You started doing the figure 8 racing at Slinger. Moved on from there. Your first figure 8 car, and you always had some sort of theme to it. Is that right? The first one was a Mack truck, or
a Mack truck. Yeah, I always wanted to just come out and just make a statement, and just show people that the stuff I'm kind of coming to the table with. And so I came up with an idea, and I was out in the dead of winter, negative 10 degrees out, and cut these fenders off of a 1940 dump truck. And between those and some parts off of a semi truck and some homemade stuff, I made what we called the Mack truck. So
that was a figure 8 car, right?
Yeah, that was my first figure 8 car. So the kids loved it. A lot of people loved it. It was more like a rat rod type of a race car.
Right.
So
from there you moved on to the Lightning McQueen. Was that the next?
Yeah. Well, I had the Mack truck for quite a few years. I hit in the X with that thing, I think like 7 times, something like that. My first 2 years, I had 2 hits each year. So that was a lot of fun. I kind of enjoy that a little bit, as long as you come out the other end not hurt, it's exciting,
Say that again now. The figure 8 racing exciting, or getting hit in the X? I'm a little confused.
I mean, I think you gotta take a hit in the X, to keep yourself humble and know what, can happen out there. And, of course, that's what the fans like, so I think every figure eight driver should bite the bullet every once in a while and hit in the X. And, really we're out there entertaining, and what's more entertaining than a hit in the X?
Well, it's always exciting for everybody, from the safety crew to the promoter and the drivers. But
yeah,
hey,
like I said, as long as everybody comes out the other side okay and all the safety equipment works, it's, of course, nobody wants the big hits. I'm not looking for a nose to nose or a car rolling over. I'm not looking for that, but just a graze, clipping the rear bumper, just enough to keep it exciting.
Well, that's good. So the Mack truck's still around, or is that retired out in the pasture?
It's sitting out in the pasture. A buddy of mine bought it, and I asked him why he bought it, and he's like, well, it's because it's Rockstar Russ's first figure eight car. So I kind of laughed. I'm like, all right. So it's sitting in the back of his field, and he brought it out and let a buddy of his drive it once, and he hit in the X that race with it. So it was kind of like holy cow. And he ended up breaking his foot. And the crazy thing is, all my X hits, I never had a single injury other than whiplash and bruising and stuff like that, normal stuff. So he steps in at one time and breaks his foot.
Well, you had derby experience, so that toughens up a guy.
Yeah, I guess. Bouncing around in one of those.
Yeah, that's crazy. So from there, you moved on to Lightning McQueen and.
Yeah, then we built the Lightning McQueen and a Tow Mater. We built those in the same year. That was a fun project, coming out with both cars. Kids really loved it. It was tough switching between the two cars. I don't recommend it, but the kids really enjoyed it that year. Kind of hurt my points race, but I did that year just for the entertainment and the kids. And then I did a Mad Max theme for a while, and that one wasn't as popular as I thought. I had like some Gatling guns on top. I did that. Then I had the 55 Chevy, and there was a bunch of other, other cars in there between all these, but these are my main cars.
Okay.
And then I did the 55 Chevy, and that was a big hit. Everybody, of course, loves that.
I remember the one with the big fins. I don't remember what it was, but I think you made fins bigger, or the rear fins. I can't remember what that car was, but.
Oh, I put a surfboard on top.
Well, yeah.
Of the 55 for the brackets. That I did.
Okay. Maybe that's what I was.
I did have another car that it was just this normal. I think it was actually like a Buick Regal type of a body. And I painted it yellow and blue waves on it for Bahama brackets, and had a bunch of sharks and stuff on it.
So now we've moved on to the bus. I know you ride race buses. Did you ride a bus to school? Did your family have a bus?
Of course.
Where did it come from?
Yeah, I rode the bus to school, but the reason I wanted to build it was because we race buses once a year. You guys do it. They do it at Slinger. They do it up at WIR. And, everybody loves the buses. Everybody wants more buses. So I'm like, well, why don't I just build one? And I can have a bus out there every week. So I started building
parts
it.
of an old bus, or is that all hand-hewn?
Yeah, no, that one I took the front section off the roof of the bus, and then I had to cut 22 inches out of the center, because of course the bus is way wider. So I believe it was 22 inches, shortened it, and then I kind of just mounted that up in the air above the chassis, and I just built the roof on that and built the car from the top down. So
everybody says it's top heavy. Is that when you're racing it? I mean, do you feel that, or is it really?
Yeah, no, it was a learning experience. I never truly got her dialed in at WIR. I came down by you guys and ran it on that track, and it handled really well at your track. I was pretty happy with it. But WIR is a little flatter track, so everything's more. You're more, I guess, precise with your steering. You don't have a lot of leeway. You mess up in a turn, it can really send you back and scuff a lot of speed off. So it was harder there because you got a little more body roll. So, but I mean, I still did well. I got a couple wins with it, and of course, the fans come up to you every week and tell you how great it is. And then I brought my fast car out a couple of times, and all I got was, "Where's the bus? Bring the bus."
Hard
So
to
I'm
go
like,
back.
Yeah. So
what's underneath it? What's the magic of the bus? Everybody wants to know.
it's a '73 Chevelle chassis. So it's a big car chassis. It's longer, wider. And then it used to be, I think, quarter mile oval car at IR. If I'm not mistaken, that's where it was ran. And then, of course, I bought it and made it both ways.
So you run that only in the figure eight at Kaukauna, or?
Yeah, no, I just figure eights with it. So if you had to get them higher speeds, the wind would really slow this thing down. So I'm unsure if it affects it aerodynamically or not. A lot of people go both directions. Some people say it's such a drag race in figure eight that it doesn't affect it. Other people say that that's a real huge disadvantage and slows you down. I've had nights where I think one way, and I have nights where I think the other. So
gives you downforce, and gives you more front end. That's what maybe.
I think if I would have angled the body more, and had the tail of the bus up in the air more, maybe, kind of like a spoiler. So I don't know.
So locally here, you brought it down for our vintage figure eight racing, which we did once the last couple of years. And then then you brought it to Bahama Brackets. How'd you do in the vintage race? I think you won that one.
Yeah, I kind of smoked everybody in that one. It was the only real car there that was set up for figure eights. I think two other guys were kind of set up, but it was just for fun. So I mean, I did really well, compared to everybody else out there. But like I said, most of the field was just left turning cars. So, but it was cool. We had a heat race down there, and then the feature. It was kind of funny because I won the heat race, and I had to do some victory donuts, and I come back in the pits, and everybody's like, "What the heck are you doing donuts for a heat win? You're gonna wreck your tires." And so I had to tell him, my son Colton came down with the wife and father-in-law, and so my son made me promise I would do a burnout. So I figured just in case I wreck in the feature, at least that way my son was happy that he got to see me do a burnout. So
that was why a heat race, the only time I think we've seen ever probably somebody did a smoky burnout show.
Yeah, it's not often guy brings an extra set of tires just in case he wins a heat race.
Well, that's true. So I think that feature win night, you were involved in the night we had the pool. We did a pool jump, and did you go jumping in the pool? I think it was like 105 degrees.
It was smoking hot. I was disappointed you guys didn't have the pool. I was disappointed you didn't have the pool this year.
No pool. Now we're getting the gifts from Zoom. That's not on the okay.
I wanted to jump in the pool, or jump over the pool, but you guys said you already had someone to do it.
Yeah, we had a stuntman from Florida all the way in to do that. It's Kyle.
Man,
there it's gone. Well, now it's on.
You could have just paid one of us to do it.
Well, I think you got a Hemi or something to jump in the pool. The first guy threw out $100 to dive in the pool, and everybody else after that got a Hemi beer out of the beer stand that night.
Yeah. I think I stole one of your tires, but then it flew out of the car when I was doing my victory donuts in my underwear.
Oh, the inflatable tires, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty sure that's one thing I got on everybody. I'm sure I'm the only one to do victory donuts on your track in his underwear.
I probably. And let's mark that in the record book. It's recorded.
Mark that up for this guy.
All right, so then you come back for Bahamas with the bus. And you've been at Bahamas, so you know what that's all about. It's a very unique event.
Yeah, it's a blast. Everyone should try it. So I've had really good luck for that. I've come 3 times. Twice I won the heat race, or whatever you guys call it. I don't remember what you call the first race.
Bashes.
And then the bashes, yeah. And then the other time I took second. So I made it to the feature all 3 times without having to sing my way in like Ryan Levald always does. And then, but the problem is I don't race oval very often. So I just progressively get better the more laps I turn because it's the only time of year I do it. So I break out every year.
I was just going to say, then the magic of Bahamas, you get better and
Yep.
break out. You're allowed 2 10s.
Yeah. And I even, every time, the one time I'm on the bottom side passing a guy, and everybody told me, don't worry, as long as you're on the bottom passing, you won't break out. Yeah, I broke out like crazy.
So how'd this year end up at Bahamas?
I did the same. I broke out. I led, I don't know, I think I led like 8 laps, something like that. So it was a lot of fun up there, but then I started getting passed and it was kind of getting to me. So I was like pushing a little harder and then, of course, break out. And so then I pulled off and my buddy comes running over, Justin Painich, and he's like, hey, you can run the Fufu race. I'm like, heck yeah, why not? So then I go out there for the Fufu race and I'm running side by side with that dirt car that was just awesome. And next thing I know, I blew the motor up.
In the Fufu race.
In the Fufu race, yeah. Racing for fun.
And the winner of the Fufu race for the last many years has got a beignet. Or
Nice.
bidet, thank you. Or a
Bidet.
12-pack of beer or soda. But
Well, at least I was racing for something then. That makes me feel a little better.
Very unique trophy, that's for sure. So you said you got a bunch of other stuff in the shop there. You got a picnic table up above you there. It goes 100 miles an hour. How is that possible?
Yeah, I could probably try and show it. It's up there.
There it is.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't know. We were sitting at Road America, and we were sitting at a picnic table watching racing, and I'm like, how cool would it be if this thing had a motor on? We could just drive around the track. And everybody's like, heck yeah, that'd be cool. And next thing I know, a couple of years later, I said I'm gonna build one, and so I kind of watched for a car for a while, and my cousin, when a snowstorm, I think it was, hit a tree. So I bought a Chevy Tracker from him. I think it was $100 or something. So fixed it and built a picnic table.
Amazing. Then you got a half car. What's that? Explain that one to us.
So that started at Slinger. They do a ski race where the back tires are just skis and it's front wheel drive. So I had got a station wagon, and I'm like, how cool would it be if the station wagon broke in half while I'm racing? So I created this whole pulley system, and in the middle of the race, I pulled a lever, and the back of the car fell off and landed on the track. I dragged it for a while by the emergency brake. I forgot to cut the cable. So it hung on for about half a lap, and then it broke off. So everybody was like, oh, that's crazy. You know, were you surprised when the back of your car broke off? And I was like, I kind of planned it. So, but it was a little unsafe the way the back was kind of open. So the next year I'm like, I'm going to box it in and, you know, make it safe, but still just come with the half a car. And actually, I've won a lot of races with that car. I even took it to the Dells once. They had a ski race. And me and my brother loaded it up and went over there, and I won that one too. So.
All right, you got the rollover cart. There's you got to tell me about this. It's got a cage at the hit the brakes, it rolls. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a Geo Metro, and the funny thing is, I took a Geo Metro and I shortened it, so the Geo Metro is now smaller than an actual Geo Metro. Like, I barely fit in it. And then I built an exterior roll cage that goes across, you know, the outside of it. And it took some practicing. The neighbors were looking at me kind of funny when I'm buzzing down the road trying to roll a car over. And but the first real attempt, it rolled right over, landed on its wheels, and I drove away. And it's hard on the body. It hurts. I used to enjoy driving it because it's funny and everybody loves it, but I don't really enjoy it too much anymore. It kind of hurts.
Little rough landing.
It's a very rough landing. It's rough if you make it all the way over, and it's even rougher if you go most of the way, because then you come all the way back.
Wow.
So, and actually, we were at the Eve of Destruction one year, and Travis Perstrada showed up. And long story short, I told him, you need to drive the rollover car, and he was like, yes, I do. So he took it out. He ended up breaking it. I think a wire came off the fuel pump, which kind of stunk, but the crowd still liked it, and he liked it.
He didn't buy it from you and make it part of his traveling circus show, did he?
No, I wish you would have asked me to travel with him. I would have come out there.
Well, I'm sure you would have. So behind the bus is this current year's project. Can you lead us on to what you got coming?
It's actually right here. I'm not gonna show it to you. I thought about it, but we're gonna leave it a secret. It's gonna be. Hopefully, it's gonna be just like the bus, except for I'm working out some kinks that's hopefully gonna let me, be a little faster in the corners. We chopped the top down about 6 inches, so it's gonna look like the bus. It's gonna be a bus, but it's gonna look a little different. So.
Any hydraulics as part of this?
No,
No.
I can't give too much away.
All right, we'll wait for that.
It's gonna be a doozy. I'm still debating about if I'm gonna show any pictures of it until the season starts, because it's gonna be such a surprise. I think it's gonna be. It's something you're gonna want to come the first night and see. That's for sure. So.
Well, I want to give you the date for the vintage race, figure 8 race at Rockford. Actually, we're looking at doing 2 of them this year.
Uh-oh.
So we'll fit that in the schedule.
You mean both Saturdays or?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be the plan.
Okay.
That works. So you're pretty much Thursday nights at Kekwana.
Yeah.
That's your normal schedule. So.
Correct.
And then we'll work with the slinger schedule, so we're not on the same weekend on that, but. That's kind of the plan.
Those guys can come. They missed it this last year. I was pretty disappointed in my boys. Normally, I got a couple of them that travel with me, Nick and Ryan, and they both unfortunately couldn't make it this last year.
Yeah, this turned into a unique event. I mean, when it first came out, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be who knows what. But the crowd loved it, and the drivers loved it, and it's amazing.
Well, I tell you, that first year, we came out to practice, and you guys did it on a Wednesday, and I had to race the next night with the same car. And we went out for practice, and, man, I swear every other car on the track except for us spun out once, if not twice. And we came off the track, and I'm like, oh, my God, there's no way we're going to finish this race. This is going to be terrible. And then we come out to race. And actually, it was probably the best figure 8 race, out of the bunch. I mean, we had the one car that was smoking so bad. He ended up winning and just had a smoke screen across the track. And we were just trying to fly through the X and not hit each other. And then Nick spun out into the dirt, and there's a huge dirt cloud, and we're flying through that. And there was numerous times where we came through the X. I couldn't see nothing.
Oh, God. That's a little scary.
Yeah, that was a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I almost pulled off to the side about 3/4 of the way through because I couldn't see nothing, and I'm like, I'm fighting for the points. I can't be wrecking. I got to race the next night, but that's not my style. I just kept going.
Obviously, you made it through the night and off to. How many times have you had the championship up at Kekwana or Slinger in the figure 8?
I haven't. That's
really?
One thing I haven't done. No, I got second. But no, I really, the beginning of my career was a lot of learning. I'm the first, racer in my family that races oval, short track racing. My dad did it a couple times, but nothing that, nothing as far as knowledge he could have gave me. So I spent the beginning of my career just learning, trying to learn what parts, springs, shocks, just trying different setups, trying to make the car fast. So I didn't really start winning until a few years ago.
Well, you just got to figure it out now. I mean, you got obviously got the fans on your side, got some history to your racing game, and starting to take home some wins. Trophies on the shelf in the shop, so you're doing something right.
It's always great waking up in the morning and my son coming and waking me up and pointing at the trophy, because I always leave the trophy out for him when I win, and seeing his face all excited, and because when I race up at Kaukauna, he can't come up there and watch because it's just too late. It's an hour and a half drive one way. So to see him all excited in the morning is definitely one of the best parts about winning.
So it sounds like at Rockford we need to go back to our old figure 8 rules, V8 cars, and maybe we can get Russ coming down.
David, I know that normally you towards the end you give me a chance to ask you some questions, and that was going to be my one and only question: is when we bringing up boys back?
Well, unfortunately, the figure 8 world, we were down to, and you'll see it at other tracks, 4 or 5 cars, and then it became, this is just a chance to go to the 4 cylinders. And the first year, we had, I think, 5 or 6 cars the first night, and it was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. But then the next night, we ended up with 10 or 12, and the races are really good.
Right.
This year we had the big test. We had a collision
I saw that
they T-boned her in the X, and fortunately both the guys walked away. Obviously sore and banged up, but
how did the cars look? Did they hold up pretty good, or did you guys make changes in the rules after that?
No, the cars held up. I mean, they ended up junking them, obviously, but
obviously.
The problem with cars today is they're also rusty, and the one car had a steel plate under his feet, and that had collapsed up and caught his foot. But other than that, I mean, that was they're full cages essentially, so that part worked out. I know. I mean, insurance carrier was a little nervous about it when we brought that on, but it's unfortunate. We couldn't do much with the V8 cars anymore. There's just not enough of them to make it a good show. So,
you guys ever try opening the rules up a little more? I know.
Well, Rockford in its history had an open rule book, and we had dump trucks and all that sorts of crazy stuff, and that obviously backfired. So I don't know. We'll have to keep you on the invite list, at least for the vintage event, and get you back for Bahama brackets, or we'll come up with some way to get you back down to Rockford on your weekends off.
Yeah, like I said, I'm guaranteed two races there a year, and it sounds like if you're going to do 2 vintage, I'll have to make that 3.
There you go. We'll add that to the list. Oh, we got a couple of people calling in here. Oh, Nick Schneider, who's a figure 8 champion at Rockford, along with his father.
What's up,
figure
Nick?
8. All right, hard to read all that one. New V8 rules. I don't know about that. What else, Russ?
Nick says he's going to come play with us in the vintage. I hope he does. I'd love to race against him. He came up the Slinger, I think, just the one time, maybe twice. And both times I wasn't racing, so I'd love to race against the Schneider.
There you go. What do you want to do in your racing career? I mean, what goals do you got? I mean, do you want to win? You want to stay where you're at? What do you got?
Of course, I want to get one championship. It's hitting in the X is fun, but I want to get one. I want to get one championship. It's definitely more fun just racing and not caring, but I'd like to, you get that one under the belt, and then you don't have to care no more, I guess, the monkey off the back. Right. I'd like to do that. I'd like to try dirt. I know a lot of people that do that, and they just have a blast with it. Other than that, just, keep entertaining. Get more people in the stands. I like to race with big crowds. That's what fires me up. I can't tell you how many times we'll be before the race. I'll be talking with my brother and look up in the crowd, and it's like, man, I'm not even gonna hit in the X with this crowd. Unless the people show up, I'm gonna lift. I don't want to hit in the X with 1,000 people in the crowd. I want 5,000, 10,000 people in the crowd.
Well, you go to Kaukauna, the eve of destruction, the place is wall-to-wall people.
I think they get 15,000 people in that place there for that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's no holds bars. You go to the boards on that one.
So you used to race at Slinger. What made you move up to Kaukauna? Just out of curiosity.
There was a bunch of different things that kind of led to me moving. The final straw was my last year. Long story short, I didn't have fun. It was kind of like I'm spending all this money and I didn't have any fun, and I kind of looked at my brother and I'm like, we either need to go somewhere else or I'm just going to be done.
Okay.
No point of doing all that work if you're not enjoying it. So I had a friend of mine who went to WIR like that year, and long story short, she had my shirt on, and a guy tracked her down, and he said, you tell him we want him here. So I'm like, well, let's go try it. So went up there and met Roger, who was the owner at the time, and he kind of believed in me and gave me the reins to bring out a couple of my stunt cars and stuff and have some fun. And then Danny took over, and they kind of do the same, and we got a good relationship up there, and I started having fun again. So it's 3 hours of driving in one night, which is rough, but my brother comes every week. My mom comes quite a bit with us, and it really, I got another friend, John Boy, that come. We have like a group of friends that all kind of come and go, and we normally get like 4 of us a week. My neighbor Robert comes, of course the eve, that's when my boys get to come up, my wife and father, mother-in-law, my whole family comes up for that, so that's a lot of fun.
So you have 2 kids, 2 boys, right?
Yeah, Cole and Dane.
Younger.
1-year-old and 4 years old.
So the wife lets you go playing on the racetrack.
Yeah, she doesn't like the stunts. I had a couple of stunts that I did back in the day, and so she doesn't like those, but she doesn't mind the figure eight so much. So, but she sees how much time I spend on safety and the money I put into it, just safety wise. So I think that gives her a little peace of mind. And in every car I build, she doesn't just say, "Okay, go have fun." She sticks her head in the shop and make sure that I'm doing things safe. So it's kind of funny when she comes in and gives her 2 cents. So actually, my boy, here's Cole right here on the bus. I don't know if you can see him.
Oh yeah. So you got cotton candy in his hand, or what is that?
No, he's just kind of cut out in the picture.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what he was doing in that picture. My mom had that made for me. I stuck it on there. Kind of fit perfect. Dane's on the other window.
So you said back in the day you did a couple of stunts that were a little scary. Fill us in. What were those?
Yeah, I jumped through a couple of different motorhomes. I did it 3 different times at Slinger. So we jumped off a ramp. The first one, I went through the side of the motorhome. Then I ended up getting in that motorhome and hitting the rollover ramp with it, which was kind of hysterical. And then I did another larger motorhome, and I jumped through it lengthwise. And that went perfect. So those 2 were perfect, no bumps. And then they said, well, can you do it next weekend with the same motorhome? Just turn it sideways. And long story short, I came off the ramp, hit the side, and it just went like this. Just upside down, landed directly upside down, and the roof caved in. And I was stuck in the car. I felt the roof hit me on the head. Being 6'5", you don't have a lot of room in those cars. And I ended up walking away okay, but they had to lift the back of the car up to drag me out. and they stuck me in the ambulance, and I hurt for probably a year.
Oh, wow.
After that one. That was a bad one. So you look at the car, and it doesn't look like I should have survived that one. So that was a bad one. So
Just for
that put a bad
reference,
taste.
just for reference there, we did that at Rockford. The motorhome went through them. Everything was fine. Then I think like a couple of years ago, we hit the side of it, and the truck stood up on end and flattened it, wheels up when he landed. And fortunately, the driver got out. But those deals, you just never know. I mean,
it's the problem is I wanted the motorhome moved. So the plan for the stunt was I was supposed to jump off the ramp and land in it, and it was supposed to be like 20 feet out.
Okay.
Well, they wouldn't move it. We don't have time, they said. Just go hit it. Just go hit it. Just go hit it. I'm like, well, this is stupid. It's so close to the ramp. And turns out I was right. So if they would have moved it, I would have landed in it. Nothing would have happened. Probably would have drove it away. But, in too big of a rush to be safe.
Well, and we did a bus into a semi-trailer, and it was actually Tom Schneider, Nick's dad.
Yeah.
This was a few years ago, and the bus stuck in the semi-trailer. The only way we can get him out is we got the forklift and raise it up to the back door of the bus to get him out. He was okay,
Wow.
but
Yeah. I love bus crashes because it looks so bad. These huge masses just hitting into each other. It looks like that's gotta hurt. But the mass is so big, you don't get that jolt. So as a driver, it doesn't even hurt.
Well, Rockford, we did a Ferris wheel. The bus ran into about a 40-foot Ferris wheel. We set that up on the racetrack,
Nice.
ramp leading up to it. And the sidebar of that story is there's these stabilizers on this Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And we forgot to take them off, or we ran out of time, kind of like your deal.
Yep.
Well, fortunately, it all worked out right, but he hit it. The stabilizer came through the floor of the bus and smashed the dash right next to the driver. You didn't see this. He got out and everything was okay, but that was like, wow, that could have been ugly. So.
Yeah. No, you got to be careful with that stuff.
Everybody says it looks so easy, though. It's a soft landing. Have you ever had a soft landing or a soft hit? I mean,
No, not when you do anything like that. There's no such thing as a soft hit. I mean, you get just a 25-mile-an-hour hit, and you're gonna feel that in the morning. You're gonna have bruises.
Oh yeah. So do you do the trailer races and all that other stuff up there? Or?
Yeah, I've won that. I don't know, 2-3 times, something like that. I tend to shine up during that one. That's more of a demo derby type of a race. So I built one 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. 2 years ago, I think. I built a Suburban, and I filled the whole back of it with weight, and I wanted to do wheelies through the X during the trailer race. And my goal was to hit the biggest trailer doing a wheelie. Well, sounds real easy, and it really wasn't. We actually pulled the motor out, flipped the motor around, put the motor in the back of the truck, and attached the trans directly to the rear end.
Oh.
So now when you flip the motor around, in order to make it drive forward and drive, we had to take the rear end and flip it.
Oh, wow.
So when you flip the rear end, we welded all new mounts on it. When you flip the rear end, now in drive, it would still go forward even though the motor is facing the other direction.
Crazy.
So it was doing wheelies, but I had to put so much weight in it because I didn't have a big motor. It was just the stock 350 or whatever it was. And so I didn't have big power, so I was doing it more with weight. Well, unfortunately, it took so much weight off the front wheels, I could barely turn in the corners. So that was another one of those great ideas that really you need a lot more time to make it work properly.
You ever do that with a bus? Do the wheelie bus? You know, you can move the...
I couldn't imagine how much weight that would take.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
a
we've
couple of
had,
them out there, I know.
yeah, well, those are big motors, drag racing type of buses, all skinned out.
Kaukauna, right there is the drag strip. Do you ever go over and play on the strip, or?
I have not. I know Danny asked me if I'd bring the picnic table and drag race the picnic table. He was going to set up just a fun little thing up there, and he never set it up yet. So I'm hoping he does it soon. Maybe this year's a good year for him. I don't know. But my cousin and uncle, they're more drag racers. So my Uncle John and cousin Little John, they do. Actually, my cousin just raced the top fuel car for the first time this last year. He ended up blowing it up, but he's still, I mean, that's flying. So
That doesn't excite you, huh?
I mean, it would be cool like a couple times, but then, you know, to put all the money into a car and own that car, to just go straight every time, I like to, I don't know, I like banging doors and, you know, more of a driver. That's more of a consistency, you know, hitting the light. I mean, it takes its own different type of skill to be good at it, but it's not, I like more action, I guess.
Well, you certainly got it with circle track racing. I know that's always my question in drag racing. And as a participant, it'd be great, but I mean, unless you're talking, like you say, top fuel stuff where it's incredibly loud and fast,
Right.
But you know, different folks, different deals. So
Yeah, I agree, but it's, you know, you also don't wreck your stuff as much drag racing.
no, it's true.
I mean, for the most part, you can race a full season and you just do a maintenance stuff. You know, you're not hitting the wall. You're not, man, if I could have a season like that, I wouldn't know what to do with all my time.
So what do you do for a living? What's your full-time gig that lets you do racing? There's a lot of guys that just can't do
Right
that.
here, this sticker right here, that's 6 Cents Service. I'm a co-owner with my guy Eric Carsons. I've been fixing home appliances for 18 years, going on 19 years, something like that.
Do you repair
refrigerators? No light bulbs. I mean, light bulbs in refrigerators. Yeah,
Okay.
especially the new ones. They got those LEDs. You know, those things aren't cheap.
All right, go ahead. I was just throwing that old Kevin Olson joke in there.
Oh, okay. No, we do all kitchen laundry appliances. So.
Well, that's good. Keeps you at time to play with the race cars and get out on Thursday night. And what other plans you got for the summer? Where else you going? Any other?
Oh man, I mean, right now for this summer, we ain't got nothing really planned. We normally like to take a week and just go. We rent a cottage or something up north on a lake somewhere, and we just fish and hang out with the boys. We've done that, you know, the last couple of years. Other than that, we don't, you know, who knows what's going on this year.
Yeah, things are certainly different as we learned from last year, but that never really affected Wisconsin as much.
We were lucky with the racing. Yeah, I know that the track promoters at both Slinger and Kaukauna worked really hard to to open up the tracks, and we had good crowds. I mean, I want to say we had record crowds at some point because couldn't do nothing else, so people were coming to the racetrack.
Yes, there's a lot of racetracks that did have their best year this year, and I can attest at Rockford, I saw a bunch of new faces, people we've never seen before. So, and
that's good.
But you know, we were limited to 25% capacity, so I couldn't advertise really, and I wish, you know, a couple weeks ago I'm thinking, man, if I would have spent money advertising here and there, we could have done so much better, but
oh man, yeah.
We didn't know if we were going to be able to open. I'd only release the schedule 2 weeks out, so
yeah,
it was kind of weird.
It was frustrating. As far as WIR goes, we were lucky and we didn't have any incidents the whole season. So it really didn't deter people from coming to the racetrack.
So it wasn't a super spreader event there at Kaukauna. I love spreading that word.
Yeah.
It's a super joke is really what it is, my opinion.
Well, it wasn't all bad. It cured the flu.
Yes, it did. 0 deaths from flu.
Zero deaths for the flu. So it was a great year for the flu.
Yeah. And
everybody must have got their flu shots this year.
Early. Early.
Yeah.
So what was your all-time favorite race out of all this? You've been around. What's the best one?
Oh, man. I'm going to go back to my favorite trophy, the winning the Super Bowl of figure 8 up at Kaukauna, the Eve of Destruction, the 25-lapper. We started that race with 18 cars, and I started in the back with Mike Meyerhofer and just followed him through the field. He had a little bit more on me than I had, and I just kept up with him. And, he got into another driver and a little bit of an incident, and I snuck underneath and ended up coming home with the win. So that's definitely my favorite.
So the figure 8 cars at Kaukauna, kind of if you remember back in the day out of Indianapolis, they had the old late model chassis cars that were figure 8. I mean, they ran the 100 lappers and all that. There's not late model chassis at Kaukauna for figure 8 cars.
No, God, no.
This is your full frame.
Yeah, it's just like what you guys had, for the most part. Rules are a little more open, but you still got to run cast iron intake. You got to run 2-barrel carb, 8-inch tires. You can't have any quick change rear ends, I think is one. You got to be full frame cars, full body cars. Motor setback rule is, in place. Front bay bars can only be 1 inch past the upper A-arms. We can have tubular uppers now, which helps on cost. They keep some rules in there to keep us tamed back, but they kind of open some other ones to help keep it cheaper too,
Well, it's hard to get finding parts anymore for some of the cars that we're racing is another issue.
Yep.
We're finding that in all the stuff as we go down the deal. So who's your favorite? We talked about Dale Jr. Who's your favorite racer, or in the big world?
The big ones.
Who's your ideal, your goal, or your?
Man, I guess Tony Stewart. I guess I like him. He's a hard-nosed driver. He cares about the drivers, I think, and his passion is in dirt racing. But I think he always said NASCAR pays the bills and dirt track is the entertainment. So I like the way he drives. Nowadays, anybody race? I don't know. I don't watch too much. Just seems like it's more follow the leader until the last couple laps.
Well, and they're all kids.
Yeah.
Anymore, but
so it's hard to follow because they change every year.
Right. And how many chases are there and grants and all that? But
yeah.
So where did the nickname Rockstar come from?
It's not even a good story. It's actually
that makes it better.
Bad. It really is. It's kind of a bad story. It's a funny one though. So long story short, we're in the middle of a race, and I think I got into another car, a racing incident, lost control. At Slinger, they had a ramp. So I went to the right of the ramp through the grass. It was either that or hit the ramp. So I kind of just went to the right. Nobody was there. It wasn't a big deal. So I went through the grass, came back on the track, kept racing. Didn't think anything of it. Go back to the pits, park the car. By the time I got out of this car, this guy, I won't mention names or nothing, but he was the photographer, and he's just screaming at me. And I'm like, what? What are you yelling at me for? And, so he's like, you think you're some kind of rock star out there?
There it
And I'm
is.
like, what are you even talking about? I didn't even do anything. I didn't have a good finish because I went through the grass. And he says that he was standing where I went through the grass like 3 laps earlier. So I'm like, so you weren't even there? Like, I wasn't even close to you? He goes, well, no. I'm like, so what's the big deal? And he's, so he was all mad, and I told him to go fly a kite and some other choice words. And so then the next weekend, a friend of mine that raced up there, he had a sticker made. It was a big star, and it said Rockstar Russ on it. And he gave it to me. So I had to put it on the car because it was pretty cool. And so ever since then, it's been Rockstar Russ.
That's the story, huh?
That's it. It's nothing good. It's just funny.
Well, you said you were 6'5", redhead. You're pretty well known, pretty easy
Yeah.
to spot. So I think it's a good nickname for you.
Yeah, it kind of fits.
What else you got in your sleeve for this coming year? I know you got the secret project going, but
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm putting all my spare time. I normally get on the shop about 10 o'clock at night, and I work till like 2 in the morning. That's normally my only time I get to work on the car right now. Thursday nights is also shop night, where I'll get to jump out here earlier and work all night. Everything's been just on that car, getting that ready. I had 2 motors that were junk, so I've been trying to get parts for those to put those back together. So we're waiting on that. As far as plans, WIR full time is still the plan. Of course, I'll come down by you guys for the normal races. I just found out tonight that you guys are having 2 vintage races. So I guess I'm going to be coming down there one extra time this year. I'm sure the wife is in the living room right now watching this going, oh, man, another one down there.
we're not that far, are we?
It's just one more thing on my schedule is all it is.
Oh, I know.
So, and then I do Father's Day at Slinger, so my boys can come watch me. So I'll take Lightning McQueen out there for that.
All right, sounds like you got a full schedule ahead of yourself this summer.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
All right, so you saw me before ask the question, and we kind of covered that. Any other questions you want to ask me?
Oh man, I don't know a lot of your history. Do you ever race? Did you race? Did you ever jump in a car?
Never in a race. Put many laps in cars. I actually have the slowest lap record at Rockford, driving the sweeper. Yeah,
Nice.
about
Nice.
16
You ever turn
minutes.
you ever turn a figure 8 lap?
I have, and I would never do that.
No?
No.
Nice.
I just, remember my family's been in racing, and my brother Tom was the announcer for many years, and he
Yep.
did not like the figure 8 race. So during the figure 8 races, he would be turned towards the crowd, and you could see by the crowd's reaction what was happening on the track. So he did an absolute fabulous job of faking it. But
Yeah.
no, I haven't been a fan of figure 8 racing, but man, no, and we do the figure 8 trailer race, and we do figure 8 bus racing. So that's a little bit much.
I tell you what, you guys put me in a bus, I'd come down for that. That's
All
for
right,
sure. You got an extra bus laying around. I'll come down there and run that with you guys. If you got something
you
laying
tell
around.
your wife that.
Love to do that. But
David's gonna get me a bus, a big bus. Yeah,
Big
we'll
bus.
let it happen.
you don't care if I wreck. You don't care if I wreck it, do you?
Not you. There's some guys I would care, but
Okay.
that's
Believe me, it'll be exciting.
yeah, they are exciting. They're scary, but they are so big. That's the problem with them. The school buses.
Yeah,
and-
they're hard to work with, but it's a crowd pleaser.
Well, I think you said it all. And look at sitting behind you. I mean, that's the perfect example. Everybody wants to see the buses. They want to see them. And
See the buses, something
You know, and
different. Something
when we
different.
first started bus racing years ago, I remember the United States School Bus Association called, and because some mother called them about us, we're racing these buses, and unfortunately they had an accident, and the child of the mother was injured or maybe even died. I don't remember, but it's like, come on, folks, we gotta have some fun. Things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
But obviously.
I mean, we're in a sport that's dangerous.
Pretty much.
Remember that. There's got to be a little part of every driver out there that's got to remember that what we're doing is not child's play. It can be dangerous, and which is why safety is so important. And even if you cross your T's, dot your I's, things still happen. So.
Well, knock on wood, and you got your wife keeping the eye on your safety gear and making sure you're good, and we'll get you see you again next year. And that's boy, that hour went fast. Sorry, folks, about our start in the beginning, but we got this worked out. Thanks, Russ, for being part of Outside the Fence. And remember, this now sponsored by Richie's Smokin' Barbecue. Check this stuff out. He's open, I think it's like Wednesdays through Sunday. Check him out online. Try the pizza, folks. And Russ, hey, thanks again for participating and being part of this tonight. And we'll see you this summer. Good luck at Kaukauna. Let's get a championship.
Good, thank you, sir.
All right, folks. This is Outside the Fence.
Adios, everybody.
And we'll see you next week.
Close enough.